Hi everybody, Ziv Simon here. I'm the creator of SurgicalMaster, the surgical training for dentists. Welcome to another quick lecture, and this time I wanted to review a product for you that is called the Choose Proportion Gauge. And it's a tool that I use to help me with my aesthetic crown lengthening. So I wanted to show you how this product works and what are the benefits of using it to getting good results with your crown lengthening procedures. So when you're performing a crown lengthening or an aesthetic crown lengthening, you're removing soft tissue. You're removing some of the excessive tissue, not only reducing gingival display for some patients, but you're also creating normal teeth proportions. So we put a lot of emphasis on creating the right gingival margin, the way you plan it to be. So our goal to improve teeth proportions is by creating a proper width to height ratio. We're looking at about 75 to 80%. So if you have a tooth that has 8 millimeters in width and 8 millimeters in height, that's a 1-to-1 ratio, 100%. And we know these teeth are square and anesthetic. So by removing some soft tissue, increasing the length to, let's say, the normal average length of a central incisor is 10.5. So we're looking at the ratio that is better, looking about 76, 77%. So one of the things that I showed you, and you have a couple of previous presentations online, is to do a digital simulation. Use Photoshop elements and simulate the crown lengthening virtually with the software and visualize the proper teeth proportions. So that's something that I'd like you to check out and learn about it, because it definitely helped me, and it's going to help you to plan for the surgery and also convey this to your patients and increase the case acceptance. So definitely look it up online, the presentations on digital simulation. But when we look at planning proper teeth proportions, there's a tool that is called Choose Proportion Gauge, and it was invented by a prosthodontist from New York called Stephen Chu. And what it is, basically it's a cross. And once you place it on the incisal edge, you can start measuring, making some decisions on what the length and the width of the tooth should be. Now this comes also in a kit with other proportion gauges that I'd like you to look into, made by Hugh Freedy. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's very, very helpful to me when I plan these procedures. The kit itself also has a sounding instrument, and that allows you to measure the attachment. So you can place the sounding instrument into the sulcus, and it's going to stop at bone. You'll get an idea what is the attachment level, and if you know the probing depth, it will also help you in terms of the flap positioning. So how does this proportion gauge work? It looks like a cross. It has some lines in 3 colors, blue, red, and black, and also lines in between. So if you have a tooth that extends, let's say, between the outer border of the red line, it should be as long as the top border of the red line, and that would give you the proper tooth proportion. So it gives you an idea how much tissue to resect. You can also use it on a model, on a cast, help you with making a surgical guide for a procedure. It's very, very helpful as long as you have the proper incisal edge position. And clinically, it definitely helps me. Now you have to remember that this proportion gauge is rigid. It tells you about absolute proportions, but it doesn't tell you if this can be achieved biologically or should be done. Okay, so you don't follow it blindly, because if you just resect tissue based on the proportion gauge, you may run out of good tissue. Like in this case, you may lose all of the attaching keratinized tissue. So, this helps you to visualize and plan teeth proportion, but it's still up to you how to do it surgically and follow all the rules of biology and surgery. Okay, so keep this in mind. The other thing you need to keep in mind is that you're placing it on the incisal edge position. So you need to make sure that when you make these decisions on the gingival margin, is that the incisal edge is where you want it to be, because this is your reference point. Sometimes we're planning to increase the incisal edge position. So you need to make a really good decision, a really good plan, what to do first. And if you're planning to increase your incisal edge position, take this into account when you do your crown lengthening, because what you wouldn't want to do is plan your crown lengthening, resect tissue, and get the proper teeth proportions, and then all of a sudden, at the restorative phase of treatment, you're adding to the incisal edge, and that's going to create, again, longer teeth than you plan to be. So take the incisal edge position into account. Always start with that when you're planning. So this is a really good tool. There are some videos online that you'd like to check out. It'll also show you the other tools in the kit that I don't use that much, but they're certainly helpful. So look at the video, pretty much ignore what they show in terms of how they do the surgery. I don't necessarily agree that this should be done this way, but they show you vertical releasing incisions and how to reduce bone interproximally. But I do recommend you use the proportion gauge, and also there's a tool that shows you how much bone to remove. It actually gives you the 3 millimeters that you need from the free gingival margin to allow you to get better teeth proportions, and again, how to use the proportion gauge to check your results and make sure that everything looks great. So certainly it's a very useful tool for me when I perform a crown lengthening procedure during the surgery, definitely in the planning process, but also when the patient heals, to check my results. And this is a post-op for a crown lengthening procedure, and I'm looking at the length and the width of the tooth, and we know we got good proportions, probably better than tooth number 8 next door. So in summary, it's a really good product. It's excellent for planning the aesthetic part of the treatment and the surgical planning. It's very inexpensive, certainly worth having it in your practice, part of one of your tools. Just be aware that the colors on the gauge, they fade over time, and it's usually not a big problem. But if they fade too much, you may want to just replenish and get a new tool. That's really the only criticism I have on the tool. But it's certainly excellent, and I do recommend getting it. So I hope this product review of the Choose proportion gauge was helpful to you. I recommend you use it. It will help you get better results with your patients and better aesthetic crown lengthening outcomes. And please visit me at SurgicalMaster.com and sign up for my weekly newsletter and the weekly video. You'll get it straight to you. And I really look forward to meeting and working with you in the future.